3 things to never do after the power goes out. Picture this. 1 second, you're minding your own business, scrolling, cooking, or binge watching your favorite show. And the next, boom, darkness. The entire neighborhood just vanishes into the void. No streetlights, no hum of appliances, just eerie silence and the faint sound of your neighbor yelling, "Did your power go out too?" Now, let's be honest, what's your first move? Are you fumbling for candles like it's the 1800s, grabbing your phone to scroll TikTok until the battery gasps its last breath? Or maybe you're standing there flicking the light switch on and off as if that's going to magically reboot the entire power grid? Spoiler alert, none of these are great ideas. In fact, some of them can make things a whole lot worse. Here's the deal. Power outages happen more often than we'd like. Hurricanes, ice storms, wildfires. Mother Nature has a whole arsenal of ways to hit the reset button on your city. And while you can't exactly fix the grid from your living room, you can avoid making some common and frankly dangerous mistakes. Because let's face it, when the lights go out, people tend to lose their minds. They do things that make you wonder, what were they thinking? So before you go full-on survival mode, let's talk about what not to do. I'm here to share 3 critical mistakes you need to avoid during a blackout, mistakes that could cost you your gadgets, your groceries, or even your safety. So grab a flashlight, take a deep breath, and let's dive into the top 3 things you should never do when the power goes out. Trust me, this is advice you'll want to remember the next time the lights decide to take an unplanned vacation. Mistake 1, lighting up trouble. Candles and generators in all the wrong places. So the power's out. You're sitting there in the dark, and your first instinct is to grab a candle or maybe fire up the grill indoors for some warmth. Seems harmless, right? Wrong. This is where things can go from inconvenient to catastrophic faster than you can say, "Where's the lighter?" Let's start with candles. Sure, they seem like a quaint old-school solution to a blackout. They're nostalgic, they're romantic, and they're easy to find in a pinch. But here's the thing. Candles are also tiny open flames just waiting for an opportunity to turn your living room into a scene from Backdraft. Picture this. You're fumbling around in the dark trying to light a candle. You finally get it going, set it on the coffee table, and feel a small sense of victory. But then you accidentally knock it over while reaching for your phone, and suddenly your blackout has escalated into a full-blown house fire. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It happens more often than you'd think. Take the story of a family in Georgia, for example. After Hurricane Helene knocked out their power, they lit a candle to get through the night. What started as a simple solution ended in tragedy when the candle tipped over, igniting a fire that consumed their entire home. Everything they owned was gone in a matter of minutes, all because of one small flame. And they're not alone. During the infamous Northeast blackout of 2003, New York City experienced 60 major fires in a single night. It's about 10 times the usual number, and most of them were caused by, you guessed it, candles. Now, let's talk about the other genius idea people try during blackouts, bringing the grill or generator indoors. I get it, you're cold, you're frustrated, and you just want to feel some semblance of normalcy. But dragging a charcoal grill into your living room or running a gasoline generator in your garage is not the answer. Here's why. Carbon monoxide. It's an invisible, odorless gas that can kill you before you even realize something's wrong. And unfortunately, it's a common killer during power outages. Remember the Texas freeze of 2021? Millions of people lost power in sub-freezing temperatures, and while the cold was brutal, it wasn't the leading cause of death. Carbon monoxide poisoning claimed 19 lives during that storm, all because people ran generators, grills, or even cars in enclosed spaces to stay warm. The same thing happened after Hurricane Laura in Louisiana. The storm itself was devastating, but the majority of storm deaths weren't from wind or flooding. They were from carbon monoxide poisoning. People survived the hurricane only to lose their lives because they didn't use their generators properly. Here's a harsh but true fact. If you misuse a generator, you're more likely to die from carbon monoxide poisoning than from the storm itself. It's a sobering statistic, but one that underscores just how dangerous these devices can be when used incorrectly. So let's break this down. Mistake number 1 is thinking it's okay to use flames or fuel-burning gadgets in all the wrong places. Candles might create a cozy ambiance for about 5 minutes until you accidentally set your curtains on fire. And running a generator or grill indoors, you're essentially creating a gas chamber for yourself and your family. Even official agencies like the Missouri Department of Public Safety have issued blunt warnings: never use candles as a light source during outages, and never operate generators indoors. These warnings exist for a reason. Too many people have literally burned down their homes or poisoned themselves trying to get a little light or heat. So, what should you do instead? First, invest in some flashlights and LED lanterns. We live in the 21st century, people. There's no excuse not to have a few battery-powered lights stashed in a drawer. They're cheap, they're safe, and they won't turn your living room into a bonfire. If you're worried about backup power, consider a generator, but use it safely. That means setting it up outside, far away from windows, with the exhaust pointing away from your house. Yes, you might have to brave the elements to refuel it, but that's a small price to pay for your safety. Better yet, think about investing in a modern battery backup power station. These devices are like high-tech power banks for your home. Take the Blue Apex 300, for example. It's a sleek, silent battery box that can keep your fridge, lights, and Wi-Fi running without a hiccup. Unlike traditional generators, battery backup stations don't produce fumes, don't make noise, and don't require gasoline. They're efficient, reliable, and most importantly, safe. A unit like the Apex 300 can provide about 7 kilowatt hours of energy, enough to power your essentials for a full day or more on a single charge. And here's the best part: these devices can act as uninterruptible power supplies, UPS. That means when the power goes out, they kick in instantly, keeping your lights and appliances running without even a flicker. No noisy engine, no fumes, no drama. So while your neighbors are shivering in the dark, burning their furniture for warmth, yes, that's happened, you could be the one house on the block quietly humming along with cold drinks and a charged phone. All joking aside, the point is this: don't resort to literal fire and combustion if you can avoid it. Prepare some safe light sources. And if you need backup power, invest in a modern solution. But at the very least, avoid turning your home into a bonfire or a gas chamber. Surviving a disaster only to create a new one is the ultimate irony. Let's not go there. Stay safe, stay smart, and remember, candles and generators are not your blackout best friends. Mistake 2, raiding the fridge and other resource fumbles. All right, so the power's out. You've hopefully sorted out the lighting situation, no candles tipping over, no generators running indoors, and now you're settling into the reality of life without electricity. But here comes the next big temptation: your refrigerator. Suddenly, that fridge becomes the most interesting thing in your house. You're bored, maybe a little stressed, and definitely snacky. So you wander over, open the door, and stare into the cold abyss, hoping for inspiration. Or maybe just a slice of cheese. Stop right there. Seriously, step away from the fridge. Here's the thing: every time you open that fridge door, you're letting cold air escape and warm air rush in. It's like you're sabotaging your own food supply. Think of your fridge as a giant cooler. It's designed to keep things cold, but only if you leave it alone. According to the USDA, a refrigerator will keep food safely cold for about 4 hours during a power outage, as long as you don't open the door. A full freezer can hold its temperature for 24 to 48 hours without power, but again, only if you keep the door shut. The moment you start peeking inside every 10 minutes, those numbers go out the window. And let's be real, the light inside the fridge isn't coming back on until the rest of the lights do. So, standing there staring at your groceries isn't going to help. You're not chucking on the food, you're just speeding up the spoilage process. Here's a better approach: know what you need before you open the fridge. Plan ahead, get in and get out quickly, and then leave it alone. If the outage looks like it's going to last a while, consider consolidating your essentials: milk, lunch meat, eggs, into a cooler with ice. That way, you're not opening the main fridge repeatedly and letting all the cold air escape. And let's bust a common myth while we're at it. Keeping the fridge door open will not air it out or prevent bad smells. It just warms everything up and makes your food spoil faster. You're not helping, you're hurting. Now let's talk about food safety. Just because something looks fine after a few hours doesn't mean it's safe to eat. The clock starts ticking on your perishables the moment the power goes out. If the outage stretches on, remember this mantra: when in doubt, throw it out. The FDA has some pretty clear guidelines here. Any perishable food, meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, leftovers, that's been above 40 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 4 hours is no longer safe to eat. Don't trust the sniff test or the, well, it seems okay, logic. Bacteria that can make you sick don't always produce a funky smell. The last thing you need during a blackout is a case of food poisoning. Imagine no power, no running water, and you're stuck in the bathroom with a flashlight. Not exactly the survival story you want to tell. So, if it's been too long or you're just not sure, toss it. It's better to lose a few groceries than to risk your health. Case in point, after the 2003 Northeast blackout, cities across the region had to throw out tons of perishable food due to spoilage. It's a harsh reality, but it's one you need to be prepared for. But the fridge isn't the only resource people fumble during a power outage. Let's talk about your phone and other battery-powered gadgets. When the power goes out, the Wi-Fi usually goes with it, and boredom sets in fast. It's tempting to fire up Netflix on your phone, scroll through TikTok, or crush some candy to pass the time. But here's the problem. If you drain your phone battery on mindless entertainment, what happens when you actually need it? Your phone is more than just a boredom buster. It's your lifeline. You might need it to call for help, check on loved ones, or get critical updates about the outage. If your phone's dead, you're cut off from all of that. So don't burn through your battery out of boredom. Switch on low power mode, dim the screen, and use your phone sparingly. Maybe send a quick text to check in with friends or family, or briefly check the news for updates. But resist the urge to scroll endlessly or binge watch videos. Instead, find other ways to pass the time. Break out a book, play a board game, or brace yourself, have an actual conversation with the people around you. It might feel old-fashioned, but it's a great way to stay connected and make the most of the situation. And while we're on the topic of conserving resources, let's talk about your other electronics. If you have battery-powered lanterns, radios, or other gadgets, use them wisely. Don't leave them running unnecessarily, and make sure you have spare batteries on hand. In short, mistake number 2 is all about wasting your limited supplies and energy because you're not thinking ahead. Don't stand there holding the fridge door open, and don't mindlessly drain your devices. Mistake 3, leaving everything on, setting yourself up for a shock. Picture this. The power's been out for hours, maybe even days. You've adjusted to the dark, maybe lit some safe LED lanterns, and you're just trying to get through it. Then, at 3 a.m., without warning, the power comes roaring back. Suddenly, your house lights up like a stadium. The TV blares on, the microwave starts beeping, your computer reboots, and oh no, that electric stove burner you forgot to turn off is now heating up the stack of mail and pizza box you left on top. This isn't just a rude awakening, it's a recipe for disaster. One of the most common and dangerous mistakes people make during a power outage is leaving everything exactly as it was when the lights went out. It's easy to do. You're preoccupied with the sudden darkness and you assume everything's off because, well, there's no electricity. But here's the thing. When the power comes back, all those appliances, lights, and devices spring back to life, and some of them in ways that can be downright hazardous. Let's start with the obvious danger: fire. Imagine you were cooking when the power went out. Maybe you turned off the stove, maybe you didn't. If you didn't, that burner is going to heat right back up the moment electricity is restored. And if you've placed anything flammable, like a pizza box, a dish towel, or even just some papers, on top of it in the meantime, you're looking at a potential kitchen fire. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. Fire marshals across the country have reported countless incidents where people left stoves or other appliances on during an outage, only to have them ignite something when the power returned. One case in Virginia involved a family who removed food from the stove but didn't realize the burner knob was still on. When the power came back, the burner heated up, igniting a pizza box they'd placed on top. The result? A full-blown kitchen fire. And it's not just stoves. Irons, space heaters, hair curlers, anything that generates heat can become a fire hazard if left on when the power returns. Even if no fire starts, having everything in your house suddenly draw power at once can strain your electrical system. Here's why. When electricity is restored after an outage, there's often a surge of power. This surge can overload your circuits and fry your electronics. Think about it. Your TV, computer, game console, and other devices are all sitting there, plugged in and waiting. When that surge hits, it can damage their internal components, leaving you with a pile of expensive paperweights. Sure, surge protectors can help, but they're not foolproof. A massive jolt of electricity can still overwhelm them. And let's be honest, how many of us actually have all our devices plugged into high-quality surge protectors? So what's the solution? It's simple. When the power goes out, take a few minutes to turn off or unplug your appliances and devices. Go around your house and switch off lights, heaters, the oven, the washer, the dryer, anything that was running when the outage hit. Leave one lamp on so you'll know when the power comes back. That way you can turn things back on one by one rather than having your house go from 0 to 60 all at once. This approach isn't just about protecting your gadgets, it's about staying in control. When the power returns, you'll be able to decide which devices to turn on and when, rather than waking up to a house full of blaring electronics and potential hazards. And for those of you using a generator during the outage, there's an extra step to keep in mind. When the power comes back, make sure to shut off your generator and safely reconnect to grid power. If you're using a transfer switch, follow the proper procedures to avoid sending power back into the grid. The last thing you want is to accidentally zap a utility worker who's trying to restore power to your neighborhood. Now, let's talk about why this mistake is so common. When the lights go out, most of us are focused on immediate needs: finding a flashlight, staying warm, keeping the kids entertained. It's easy to forget about the stove you were using or the space heater you had running, but taking a few minutes to turn off or unplug your appliances can save you a lot of trouble and potentially prevent a disaster. Think about it. Do you really want to survive 2 days of blackout only to have your TV get fried or your kitchen catch fire when the power comes back? It's a preventable problem, and it only takes a little bit of effort to avoid it. Here's a quick checklist for when the power goes out. Turn off or unplug major appliances and devices. This includes the stove, oven, washer, dryer, space heaters, and anything else that was running. Leave one light on. This will let you know when the power is back without overwhelming your circuits. Check for any potential hazards. Make sure there's nothing flammable near your stove, heaters, or other appliances. If you're using a generator, follow safety protocols. Shut it off and reconnect to grid power properly when the electricity is restored. By taking these steps, you can avoid the chaos and potential dangers of a sudden power surge. And let's not forget the bigger picture. Power outages are inconvenient at best and downright stressful at worst. But how you handle those dark hours can make a huge difference. You can either be the person who ends up on the news for burning down their house with a forgotten stove burner, or you can be the calm, collected neighbor who thought things through. So, to recap, mistake 1, don't light your house on fire or gas yourself trying to see in the dark. Mistake, don't spoil all your food or waste your batteries by being careless. Mistake 3, don't set yourself up for disaster when the power comes back. Avoid these mistakes and you'll be way ahead of the curve the next time the grid goes down. And hey, bonus tip, don't call 911 just to complain that the power's out. They can't help, and you're tying up resources that could be used for real emergency. Call your utility company's outage line instead. Power outages aren't fun, but they don't have to be a nightmare. With a little preparation and some common sense, you can get through them safely, and maybe even with your sanity intact. Stay safe, stay smart, and remember, the lights will come back on eventually. Just make sure you're ready when they do.